Our first speaker is passionate about health. She earned her Bachelor of Kinesiology degree at the University of Regina in 2015. She's been involved with the Blue Dot movement since the same year, in 2015. She's here to talk about how she's making change in the fight to create the right to a healthy environment for all Canadians. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Kelly Husack.
Yeah, let's just jump in. The term environmentalist can be a bit of a dirty word, especially around these areas. That's something I've come to learn these last couple of years. Environmentalists like myself are often called radical and a bunch of crazy hippies, and then also pushed to the side and our voices minimalized. But what I have come to learn over these last few years is that there are many of us here, and we are all environmentalists in our own regard. Now, this also depends on how we want to define environmentalist, but we all have an image that comes to mind of what one is, and what I would like to propose is that we all have a vested interest in protecting the environment. When I first began working with the Blue Dot movement, I was even very careful to avoid using the term environmentalist in any media interview I did, and I began calling myself an organizer instead. It was even just this winter when I was at a meeting with a bunch of older gentlemen who were so proud to bring on the Blue Dot movement as part of their event, and they kept saying, we have this group of young environmentalists, they're coming to be a part of our thing, that I really started to realize that the work that we were doing was really important, and that it mattered and was valuable to the community, even if it is a dirty word. So today I want to reclaim this term because if we can't identify and be comfortable with the terminology, how can we actually make a difference in this area? And by the way, environmentalists don't always look like that stereotypical burnt-out hippie. And so what if they do? We all deserve a better world, and we want that for ourselves and those around us. When I was completing my undergraduate degree at the University of Regina, a friend and I had decided that we wanted to go travel one summer. We looked into programs that would eventually place us to go travel to Ecuador for 5 weeks. And over this month and a bit, we would do some Spanish lessons, volunteer, and then travel around to the various areas of the country. For 2 weeks during our trip, we volunteered on a nature reserve in the middle of the cloud forest and stayed with a family that lived on the reserve and made it their life's work to care for and restore the land to promote sustainable ways of living. And they also grew coffee to promote economic opportunities for themselves in the nearby village. And on this trip, I met many people that in many ways changed my life. These included our hosts and the other volunteers that I had been working with. We all got to be quite close in our shared experience of physical labor. And for those 2 weeks, volunteering were so challenging and so physically demanding that even as an ex-elite athlete, I learned that I wasn't as tough as I thought I was. And if we weren't hauling cow manure through the fields and then hauling it into the truck and over fences and through the forest, we were close to the breaking point just because of the insect bites. They stung and they bled instantly. It was awful. But what I remembered the most was the passion and the kindness of this family, and sorry, I guess you can't see that currently, of this family. The trip also helped me rekindle a love that I had always held for the environment, and ultimately the trip was never about what I could give to others through volunteering, but rather it was about what I could learn from those around the world and how to create change no matter how big or small. My journey with the Blue Dot movement began with simply volunteering for a one-day event on October 27, 2014. Members of the staff and David Suzuki himself stopped in Regina for what was called then the Blue Dot Tour. That day, I met David Suzuki and his daughter Severin, members of Blue Rodeo, and I ate supper with Royal Wood. It was a really fun day. But those that had had the most profound impact on me were the staff and organizers of the event. I was inspired by the energy and passion of everyone involved and could not believe that they had jobs that allowed them to work towards building a better world through their passions. I met more people that day that then changed my perceptions of what it meant to be an agent of change. Right then and there, I knew I wanted to make a career out of my passions, but being a confused, almost university graduate, I had no idea what this could look like at the time. Some of you may be familiar with what are known as the social determinants of health. These are the factors that create our health in a very real way. It is actually true that our health is more often created by the environments in which we live and the experiences that we have than it is by MRI wait lists or how many doctors or nurses we train. It's more, people just don't get sick when they go seek healthcare. They get sick in their daily lives, and it's just that simple. My daily work within the North Central community of Regina focuses on these specific factors where I coordinate programming aimed at addressing things such as social support, food insecurity, access to medical services, and early childhood development. But the Blue Dot movement looks beyond just this ground level work, and so many community-based organizations work to affect this change through their daily work. And instead, the Blue Dot movement works towards affecting policy by working with decision makers. On any day in Canada, there are over 1,000 boil water advisories, and we know that 1 in 2 Canadians lives in areas with unsafe levels of air pollution. To me, these standards that are a fact of life for so many are unacceptable. And these problems are also much bigger than any one person and require big action and even greater change. Now, these issues also have a direct impact on human health right here and right now in this each and every day. I got involved as a local organizer for the Regina Blue Dot movement shortly after the tour wrapped up with a group of volunteers that were interested in working towards achieving the right to a healthy environment for all Canadians. So we got to work. We began meeting monthly at coffee shops and in common areas of the university, picking our strategies as we went. We collaborated and learned more about one another and discovered how we could best utilize everyone's talents to achieve the common goal. And as a group, we settled on 2 major objectives: community organizing and government advocacy. Members began organizing opportunities for canvassing and educating on environmental rights in the community, and others initiated conversations with Regina City Council to begin the process of passing a municipal declaration for the right to a healthy environment. On February 27th, 2017, Regina City Council passed a municipal declaration for the right to a healthy environment. This was the second declaration in Saskatchewan and the first for a major prairie city in Canada. After presenting to Regina City Council for 4 times over the span of 13 months and a year of organizing prior to this, our hard work and dedication had paid off. Now, I can't say I've always believed myself to be a change maker or a leader, and in fact, I can only say that I've come to take on the community work in the capacities that I have because of those around me vocalizing that I was capable of it. As a young woman, you don't naturally see yourself in leadership roles very often, and it can be hard to then imagine what your true capacity is. My only hope is that I can continue to push myself to keep doing the work that I am, and hopefully along the way be a role model for another individual. Because for me, formal and informal mentorship has been the key to my development. I often got flack for when we started the Blue Dot movement about this big end goal of changing the charter and including the right to a healthy environment. It's impossible, it'll never happen. But what's the point if we don't try? And if we don't and are not willing to think at that higher level? We face big problems in today's global society, and we need a broad vision and policy that reflects our entrenched values as Canadians. We need to be able to reach out and build connections and break down those walls that separate thoughts and problems in our minds. And don't get me wrong, this is really hard. I try to keep my professional and my volunteer work very separate, almost just so that I can keep it all in track in my mind. But the truth is, each informs the other, and those experiences make up who I am and what I have learned. What it comes down to is that we need to be engaged in the process, We need to put in the time, and we need to be honest in our intentions. Not many think Saskatchewan and environmentalism belong in the same sentence. But what has kept me going in those initial organizing days was the thought of how thrilling it would be to be part of a team that could show the rest of Canada and that Saskatchewan and Regina could be leaders on environmental rights. And guess what? We are, and we can. We can achieve many great things if only we can be bold enough to try. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That was really brilliant. What a really great and lovely evening. Each of the speakers shared ideas that I'm sure will have inspired each of us as we continue to embrace social innovation and work to make a difference in our communities. I know that I've taken something from each of the people who spoke and feel blessed for being able to be here tonight. So I would like to say thank you to everyone who shared their ideas this evening: Alona Doherty, Kelly Husack, Shauna Uchu, and Jim Dimmeray for being with us. And thanks to each of you for taking time to be here this evening. We hope this event has helped you as alumni meet new people, reconnect with classmates and colleagues, and of course get inspired. This might be the start of connecting your passion with your purpose, and let's take a note from Jim and not worry about the scope of our difference.